I'm Dr. Alex Décay, and this section covers SCP-15987, codename The Professor. If you've survived Module 0, congratulations. You now know just enough context to be properly afraid. In this module, we talk about who he is, what he looks like in both of his main forms, what his so-called magic actually does here, and how to work with him without becoming a retroactive footnote. On Slide 1, we have your learning objectives. By the end of this module, you should be able to describe SCP-15987's official status in Foundation terms, recognize his true form versus his veil, give a basic explanation of what his magic actually does, and outline the major risks of working with him. You are not expected to cast spells, bargain with eldritch powers, or become a wizard. You are expected to understand the asset you're sharing a site with. Slide 2 shows a snapshot of the SCP-15987 file header. Officially, SCP-15987 is a dual-status anomaly, both Thaumiel and Euclid. In plain language, that means he is a powerful ally we rely on, and an ongoing risk we contain. Under the 2000 Accord, he functions as a cooperative extra-dimensional consultant, attached primarily to Site-17. He is not a standard prisoner. He is not free either. He lives in that very comfortable, very complicated space in between.
Good evening, trainees. On your side of the paperwork, I am SCP-15987, dual-classed anomaly, containment headache, and occasional miracle worker. In my own syllabus, I am Professor Rakashan. I prefer that title. It reminds everyone that my primary function is educational, not decorative. You keep the world from falling apart loudly. I try to keep it from falling apart quietly. Between us, we almost manage. For those of you still processing the immortal feline wizard part, yes, you heard correctly. I am very nearly 1,000 years old by your calendar. I do, in fact, know magic. And no, you may not touch the ears. I am aware that some of you will decide I am your new favorite problem. Relax. I already have 2 husbands for ego maintenance. You are here for professional curiosity, not courtship.
This is Slide 3, the Professor in his true form. Roughly 9 feet tall, digitigrade, hairless feline physiology, emerald skin, retractable claws, and a sensory package that makes our best equipment look like children's toys. This is the form you'll see in designated consult spaces, thaumaturgic labs, or during high-impact interventions where pretense is pointless. It is very important that you understand this. The posture may read, Professor, but biologically and metaphysically, you are dealing with a predator who thinks in centuries.
Every few decades, someone tries to start a cult. They see the height, the claws, the light in my eyes, and they decide I must be a god, or at least very good at granting wishes. I am not a god. I am a specialist, and I already have more adoration than is healthy from 2 very persistent husbands. If you find yourself overly fascinated, that is fine. Just aim that devotion toward doing your job well, and not toward carving my face into any more altars.
On Slide 4, you see his veil form, the human-adjacent mask. He uses this body in corridors where 9-foot green wizards raise too many incident reports or theological questions. The key point here is that nothing important changes. Same mind, same capabilities, same agreements. The human skin is a courtesy, not a downgrade. Do not relax your protocols because he looks closer to baseline. Slide 5 is our behavioral snapshot. The Professor presents as a polite, slightly sardonic academic. He is patient with honest questions, surprisingly generous with overworked staff, and notoriously unforgiving of arrogance. His motivations, as far as we can map them, revolve around long-term reality stability, the protection of certain individuals, and a sustained curiosity about how humans handle power. He has hard lines. He does not tolerate cruelty, non-consensual experiments, or containment plans designed around tricking him. He may play along in the moment, but you will not enjoy the long-term consequences. On slide 6, you'll see his capable hands. Foundation culture being what it is, it was only a matter of time before someone decided to test the limits. It was midday. Site-17 cafeteria. SCP-15987 is seated alone at a table, veil up, eating tapioca pudding with what can only be described as religious focus. The room is moderately full. 2 junior researchers are watching him. One of them, Researcher K, produces a laser pointer. You can see where this is going. From the security footage, SCP-15987 pauses with the spoon halfway to his mouth. His eyes track the dot. His ears, veil blurred, but you can tell. Twitch. A tech at the next table says, under his breath, "Don't do it." Researcher K laughs, moves the dot deliberately across SCP-15987's table. The second researcher quietly picks up his tray and relocates. SCP-15987 sets the pudding down, stands, walks over to their table. Audio picks up the following.
Which of you decided this was a good idea?
Researcher K, smirking, meow. There is a long, flat silence.
Meow indeed.
He does not raise his voice. He simply sighs deeply. Researcher K yelps, drops the laser pointer, and starts rubbing his face and hands in confusion as his proportions change. In under 3 seconds, in full view of half the cafeteria, he is replaced by a small, bewildered orange tabby cat sitting on a pile of fallen clothes. The room goes dead silent. SCP-15987 picks up the cat, strokes it once between the ears.
Perspective is important.
He sets the cat down. The laser pointer floats up off the floor, moves in a slow circle in front of the cat's nose. The cat chases it enthusiastically. Half the room laughs nervously. The other half looks like they're rethinking their life choices. For the record, Researcher K was returned to human form later that day, shaken but unharmed. His privileges were curtailed. Slide 7. What you should take away from this. SCP-15987 does not default to lethal force. Even when provoked, he chooses instructional outcomes. He has fine control. Transforming someone that quickly, in that stable of a way, is not trivial. He is a predator with ethics, not a domesticated animal. Not your pet cat wizard, and not immune to irritation. If you think, but it was just a joke, you are not ready to work on this project. This is slide 8, where we deal with that favorite phrase, wizard of reality. I can give you the dry technical version, but the professor has a metaphor he likes much better. Professor, would you explain what you mean when you say you work on reality itself?
It means I work on the operating system while it is running. Your reality is not a static book of laws. It is a live process, code written in probability, narrative, and causality, compiled every heartbeat into what you call now. When I practice what you label magic, I am not shattering your physics. I am reading the source, finding corrupted lines, and applying a patch without crashing the whole instance. Sometimes that looks like green fire in the air. Sometimes it is as small as persuading a lethal coincidence not to resolve. You call me a wizard. I call myself tech support for a very temperamental universe. And no, before you ask, I will not optimize your love life or your paycheck. My patch notes are reserved for existential threats, not your manager's scheduling.
On slide 9, you'll see his capability bands, broken into 3 columns. In the everyday column, you have what you are most likely to see on site: stabilizing minor anomalies, reinforcing containment, cleaning up metaphysical messes, and the occasional small party trick to keep people from screaming. The operational column covers what we authorize during serious incidents and field deployments: shields, triage, routing, localized banishments. The red line column is real, documented, and wrapped in more policy than anything else in this module. If you think your situation requires anything in that third column, you are already in a crisis call with Site Command and several ethics representatives.
At this point, some of you are already imagining what you would do with your own reality wizard. Allow me to destroy a few fantasies. I am not your personal upgrade package. I am not here to make you richer, prettier, taller, or less embarrassed about that one night in college. My remit here is structural, preventing breaches, untangling horrors, keeping your world mostly intact. Think of me less as a genie and more as emergency infrastructure. You will appreciate me most on the days when something has not gone catastrophically wrong.
Slide 10 covers something people love to ignore: limitations and cost. New personnel hear Reality Wizard and immediately start inventing wish lists. So, Professor, let's disappoint them properly.
If I could fix anything, Doctor, I would begin with your paperwork and then retire. Power is not the same as permission. Every significant intervention has a bill attached. To me, to the fabric of this reality, and to the lives woven through the event. Sometimes the cost is fatigue. Sometimes it is a single life. Sometimes it is an entire possible future quietly erased so that another one may stand. When you ask me to act, you are not asking for a miracle. You are choosing which tragedy you prefer. Be honest about that, at least with yourselves.
This is slide 11, your basic interaction protocols. This is less mystical, more how not to mortify yourself and the site in front of a reality consultant. Professor, any advice for staff who run into you in the hallway and panic?
Yes. First, breathe. Then say your name, your role, and why you are there. That is usually enough. Do not attempt jokes about catnip, quantum litter boxes, or my supposed daddy issues with reality. I have heard them all, and none improved my opinion of the teller. If you have a real question, ask it plainly. I respect clarity. And if you are simply lost and frightened, you may say that too. I have been a teacher for a very long time. I know the look of someone who has just realized the universe is much bigger than the brochure. If you find yourself wanting to collect every recording of my voice, that is not uncommon. Curiosity is healthy. Fixation is not. Enjoy the lecture. Take your notes. Fantasize if you must. But when alarms sound and lights turn red, I need you as competent colleagues, not starstruck devotees. Your world survives on clear thinking, not on my fan club.
On slide 12, we have an early interview still in his veil form. From our perspective, he's an anomaly under supervision. From his perspective, well, I'll let him answer that.
You are determined archivists standing in front of an avalanche with clipboards. Containment is an agreement. You draw circles on the floor and insist that is where the danger stops. I cooperate because I prefer worlds with fewer dead children and fewer screaming skies. We are not enemies. We are colleagues with very different skill sets.
Slide 13 shows a later interview in his true form. Same subject, same questions, same entity. but the posture changes. Less hedging, more directness, and a little more of the predator showing through the professor. When you compare these clips, remember that our policies did not change between them. Our understanding did. This is slide 14, a risk case we catalog as Incident 15987-Delta. A team withheld critical information, tried to steer the professor into rubber stamping their preferred outcome, and treated him like a cheat code instead of a colleague. The result was a near miss involving 3 separate containment zones and several weeks of very unpleasant reviews. Remember, if you lie to a reality wizard, you are betting that you understand the situation better than he does. Statistically, you do not. And we finish with slide 15. Finally, SCP-15987 is an extra-dimensional thaumaturge, both asset and anomaly, bound by a cord, and stationed primarily at Site-17. His true form and his veil form are just different skins on the same mind. His magic is live patching of the operating system we live in, not a bottomless wishing well. He cooperates with us, but he has his own ethics, his own limits, and a very long memory. At this point in the recording, he is giving me that "let me talk" look, so I'll hand him the last word before we move on to Jasper.
One last clarification. Before you go binge the Jasper module, I know what I look like. I know how I sound. I have seen this pattern before. The awe, the fear, the late-night arguments about whether I'm a monster, a messiah, or something in between. You do not need to worship me. I already have 2 partners who devote an alarming amount of time to telling me I am wonderful. What I need from you is much simpler. Do your work well, keep your promises, and when the universe bends in the wrong direction, call for help before it breaks. That is how we keep this place and this world alive.